I know this is an exceptional event, but we live in exceptional times and we face an exceptional challenge.
In the wake of Ireland's property crash, a family from Luxembourg called the Godarts began buying up property in Ireland as it was auctioned off cheap.
60, 65, 32, 33.
The family's son and heir, Marc Godart, was paid just under €300,000 in fees in 2022.
I work for Marc Godart.
The Irish Times has spoken to former tenants and those who have worked within Marc Godart's operation to understand better how he runs his business during an escalating rental crisis within Dublin City.
There are many properties, I think around 6, 7. Most of them are not in good conditions for living there. 10, 15 persons per one bedroom. Most of the properties also are just for commercial units, but they turn it to accommodation. The business for him is people who is coming to Ireland to study English. Most of them Bolivians, Mexicans.
I'm from Mexico City. I've been here in Dublin for 5 months. I'm studying English. I'm working as well as a waiter. I thought I had lucky with the accommodation. It was a single room, a very tiny room, but it was single.
So welcome to Dublin.
There were one thing that I wasn't so happy with that, which was a camera inside of the apartment.
These cameras are inside of the properties. Common areas could be the kitchen or corridors.
The Irish Times has obtained footage recorded by cameras inside one of Marc Godart's properties. It captures both audio and video of tenants in footage that can be watched live by employees wherever they like, through an app on their mobile phones.
Marc Godart can see live action of the cameras, and also they can hear what are they saying.
According to the Data Protection Commission, any use of CCTV in an area where people would expect privacy requires a serious and documented justification. According to a former employee of Marc Godart, staff would watch footage like this and share the clips between them to check matters such as, for example, which tenant left dirty dishes in the sink.
I started searching on the internet about the camera inside of the apartment, and I found this is illegal. So after I pay my rent, I complained with my roommates about the camera, and the day after that, I received they were going to cancel my contract.
Right after he paid the rent for the coming month, Salvador was issued an eviction notice that gave him just 7 days to leave the room he had rented in number 11 Capel Street.
The eviction was made during his first month because he didn't agree with the cameras. I went to the property to tell him that he needs to leave.
No reason for the eviction was given. Under Irish law, tenants must be given at least 28 days' notice. Through friends, Salvador became aware of the RTB and spoke to a solicitor to understand his rights.
My lawyer and RTB as well told me that I don't need to leave the apartment. And if they try to do it, to take me out from the apartment, it will be illegal.
The tenant was not angry, but he knows about the law and the RTB, so we couldn't make the eviction. He stayed there, but in bad conditions.
They start taking out the bed, the mattress. They changed the lock from the door. When they tried to take out my stuff from the room, I stand in front of them and I told them, "You're not going to touch my things because it's illegal."
They took the bed and the door of the room, so the tenant was there just sleeping on the floor.
I didn't have any place to go, so I decided to stay. It was a very stressful situation. I remained in the apartment for 3 days without leaving the apartment because they changed the codes from all the doors, and they told to my other roommates that if they gave me the codes, they will cancel their contracts. So I decided not to leave the apartment. I was running out of food.
According to several tenants, Godart and his employees routinely refuse to give tenants copies of the rental contracts that they require them to sign. But the Irish Times has obtained a copy. It's a highly unusual contract. Strangely, the contracts state that the tenant is making an agreement with Airbnb instead of with Green Label Property Investment Limited or one of the other Godart companies. It states that tenants will have only 7 days' notice if the landlord decides to evict them, contrary to Irish law. It also contains unusual terms and conditions. For example, banning the drinking of alcohol in the property, limiting showers to 10 minutes duration, and banning tenants from sharing a bed with anyone else. A section of the contract about CCTV cameras in the property appears to have been copied and pasted from a document by the European Parliament about security cameras in its building. It's been altered to read Irish Parliament. It states that CCTV cameras within the property are not an invasion of privacy, citing industry regulations for CCTV systems that don't relate to privacy law.
They sign contracts, but the contract it's not legal. It's just a paper for them.
I was sleeping on the floor without door, so my privacy, I had no privacy at all. And they came to the apartment and then cut the electricity from the room. So I had no electricity. It was a very stressful situation, always thinking about it.
Salvador lasted without a bed or a door for 3 weeks before he couldn't take it anymore, and he moved out to a new place. The retention of his deposit meant he had nothing left of the savings that he had painstakingly built up in Mexico for his move to Dublin. Luckily, he found a place where people were understanding of his circumstances and allowed him to move in and pay a deposit later. The Irish Times also spoke to 2 brothers who rented accommodation from Marc Godart along with friends. They discovered when they moved in that their house on Mountjoy Square also had CCTV cameras installed inside. Relations with Godart's company quickly became difficult after they moved in. They received an eviction notice just 18 days in.
I came here to study and improve my English. At that time, I used to work in the hotel industry. We met Marc Godart 2 years ago. His workers sold us 1 or 2 properties because they have many in city center.
The conditions are so bad. There are always problems with the water, with lights. The rooms are so bad.
We had a lot of big troubles in the house. For example, we had the toilets blocked and all the shit was coming up from the toilets. It was impossible to live in a house when you have flooded of that kind of things, you know?
The Mountjoy tenants took a case against Marc Godart in the RTB. The RTB ruled that, quote, the provision of security cameras in a rented dwelling, particularly internal cameras, is an invasion of personal privacy and a breach of the right to peaceful occupation. It ordered Marc Godart to pay the 5 tenants €7,500 in damages for breaching their right to peaceful occupation due to the CCTV cameras and for an incident in which he used his own key to enter the property against their wishes, as well as for issuing invalid eviction notices.
He doesn't care about RTB because he doesn't pay. He don't care about it. That month,
I got a phone call. This guy told me I was renting this property to Marc Godart.
After the ruling, it turned out that Marc Godart was not the owner of the property, as the tenants had believed. He had himself rented it from someone else, on the understanding that he would live there personally, only to sublet it to multiple tenants without the owner's knowledge. According to owners and a former employee, this is a pattern of behaviour.
So he was scamming the real agency, and at the same time he was scamming us. Unbelievable. And that's why I think RTV must have power of something, because if not, nothing is going to change with him.
Nearly a year after that RTB ruling, the tenants of Mountjoy say they have yet to receive any payments from Marc Godart. They fear that without enforcement, there is little to stop him from repeating his behaviour with the next batch of new people who arrive in Ireland hoping to make a new start.
He just think about money, you know. He looks people just like money. He doesn't have, I don't know, humanity, or he doesn't think about it. He don't care.
The law is not working. He's stealing people, scamming people, and no one does anything against him.
I think he doesn't care about RTV because, as I know, he doesn't pay. He won't pay.
He didn't pay yet anything, and he doesn't care. I think RTV must have power of something, because if not, nothing is going to change with him.